And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here to our Thursday night Bible study. Very glad that you're here. Thanks for joining us as I happen to be on vacation, but we're doing these Thursday night Bible studies and happy to do so as we have been walking through unveiling some of the wisdom of Proverbs here, going along and having some fun time doing it. I'm glad you've been with us. If you are just joining us, let me say we're looking at Proverbs in a little bit different way. You know, when we open the book of the Proverbs and the preacher says, you should read a chapter a day, this is for you. This is going to really, really bless you. This is going to change your life. It is full of Proverbs. No promises. Don't take any promises. There's no promises, no promises, no promises, no promises. It's Proverbs. So you want me to read a book of something that's sometimes true? Got some stuff in there that's sometimes true. Man, that'll bless your life. Read a chapter every day. Listen, when we teach the book of Proverbs, we totally leave out this has an audience. The book of Proverbs has an audience. It is a narrow audience, a very narrow audience, mostly an audience of one. And when it is taken in its dispensational context, or even if you just want to say it's historical, grammatical context, when you look at that, literal, historical, grammatical context, when you look at that, is it really something that we can just say, oh, every day there's another blessing for me in the book of Proverbs? You're going to be confused if you read the book of Proverbs that way, and you're going to have to constantly, over and over and over and over again, apologize for what it says. Because it talks about long life, and length of days, and peace, and prosperity that come when you, as the preachers would say, obey the law. Actually, this is a very Torah-based book. I might even venture to say, outside of the Torah itself, it is the most Torah-based book in all of the Hebrew scriptures. The audience is narrow. The audience is, here's a little from Proverbs chapter 3, my son. Who is talking? King Solomon. Chapter 1, verse 1. We're going to take the Bible literally. Solomon is speaking. He's speaking to his son. Who is his son? His son is Rehoboam. That is the next king. So it is a message specifically to Rehoboam. But perhaps you could say, okay, to Rehoboam and those who follow him, all those in the Davidic line, it is a book about how to be the king of Israel. I suspect if you're the future king of Israel, you ought to read it every day. Read a chapter every day and really get into that. If you're not, I'm not so sure that it's such a wonderful practice to read a chapter of the Proverbs every day. You're not the king of Israel, the future king of Israel. Well, tonight we get into chapter 4, and we do see a little bit of change that has taken place. We see a different audience that's given here in chapter 4 when it says, "Hear, hear ye children." Ah, not my son, but children. Now, I think what we've got, I'm going to have to speculate just a little bit here, so you can accept the speculation or you can reject the speculation. But I think what we've got right here with the children is, I, Solomon, now want to address the nation. Now, I don't think it's just necessarily all his literal children. You could take it that way. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's not looking out to the nation. In fact, the way I see it, he has gathered together for a big rally outside of the palace. They're out there in the open area, and he is up on the balcony, and he speaks out to the children of Israel. And he refers to the children of Israel, "Hear ye children." Notice it's not my children, but just children. Now, The way I see this, and again, I could be a little bit wrong on it, because we just don't have the information, so nobody's completely right on it, assuredly right. But the way I see this is Solomon has lived his life. He's had ups and downs. Some of it was good, some of it was bad. And he went on his journey and on his escapades, didn't he? But in the end, he comes out and he says, remember the Lord in the day of your youth. Man, I kind of went all over the place. I wish I'd have stuck to it. And so my son, I want to talk to you about sticking to the law. But now Solomon is an old man. He knows he's about to die. He's going to pass the crown on to his son. And so he gathers together to show how this is going to be. That's a great thing for the kingdom. He probably remembers, when Dad died, David, when Dad died, there was a lot of skirmish over who was going to be the king, and man, I just got in by the hair of my chinny chin chin, even though that's what Dad wanted. I don't want that to happen, and so I'm gathering everyone together, and I'm going to tell them who is going to be the king. So here is Solomon. He's got Rehoboam standing right next to him, but he starts out speaking to the nation. Sort of those final words. It's become a tradition, I suppose, for a long time, going back to the days of George Washington, perhaps, to give a final address when you're the president. Of course, we think of Washington's final address and his warning about internal conflicts. We think of Eisenhower, of course, gave a very famous final address when he warned about the military-industrial complex, and you need to watch out for this. That'll be the tail that wags the dog if you're not very careful. Not necessarily bad words. Here is Solomon standing before the people, giving his final address. He says, hear ye children, the instruction of a father, and attend to no understanding. These verses 1 through 4, if you follow along on your outline, verses 1 through 4 are the address to the children. Now, he says, I give you good doctrine. I give you good doctrine. Forsake ye not my law. Now, let's think here about this word doctrine right here for a moment. I think probably you know exactly what that doctrine, what doctrine is. Doctrine is a collection, a set of teachings. Here, I'm going to call this the Solomonic doctrine. There we go. Solomonic doctrine. We think of the Monroe Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine told the Europeans, stay off our lawn. Don't want you over here. The Truman Doctrine told the communists, you're not welcome in the Western Hemisphere. Get out of here. Monroe Doctrine, Truman Doctrine, we could go on. Here is Solomon's doctrine. I give you good doctrine. Here it is. Forsake ye not my law. That is Solomon's doctrine. Forsake ye not my law. And he begins to take this. Now, again, and we said this in chapter 3, but this my law right here, we have to say that this is, in fact, right over here again, we see it in chapter 3, my son, forget not my law. I think we use the example of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd. Okay, he's other people's shepherds too. He's my shepherd. I have taken it, I've adopted it, I've internalized this, is what he's saying with the law. The law, I rejected it at times, I followed it at times. But I'm telling you, I've come to the end and said, that's my way. That's what I'm going to do. So I think we really could substitute here and say, what you've got is, this is Torah. Now, we're going to test that later, and I'll show you, but let's go for it for now. So here's the good doctrine. Forget not the law that I worked through. I trusted. One of these days soon we'll get into Ecclesiastes. and put these together. I journeyed through this Ecclesiastes trying to get there. I adopted it. Now, I want you to forget not my law. So you could substitute right there Torah. Just like over here where he says to my son, forget not Torah. Now, hey children, forget not Torah. My law, my law. And he brings it around again. He's just got a broader, more public audience. This was more private audience in chapter 3. Here's the public audience in chapter 4. Now, he then tells the people, I was my father's son. Now, by now, some 40 years later, David, no doubt, is looked upon with nostalgia. He is the great king. He had become at that point and will forever be the icon of what it is to be a Jewish king. And so Solomon comes, and he waxes nostalgic here. My children, forget not my law. Let me tell you about my dad. I am definitely my father's son. And he hearkens back to David. I was my father's son, tender and only beloved in the sight of my mother. He brings up his mother Bathsheba. And of course, Bathsheba was the one that went to bat for him when he almost didn't get the kingdom because David was sick and ailing and Solomon's brother was trying to take the throne. So he goes back and does a little bit of, hey, do you remember when? Do you remember when? That's a great way to close out a career and to be able to bring up David here. So I was my father's son. He taught me also. He said unto me, let thine heart retain my words. Keep my commandments and live. So David has this same thing with, let's just say, my commandments right here is David speaking to Solomon saying, yeah, here it is. Now, what he's saying is, hey, you all know that my dad taught me. I want you to know that I am teaching Rehoboam. My dad taught me, obey the Torah. I'm teaching Rehoboam, obey the Torah. My dad said, follow my law, my commandments. I'm saying to you, Rehoboam, right in front of all these people, follow my law, follow my commandments. Now, as he says this and gives this encouragement here, we look through and say, okay, he taught me also. Where is it? 1 Kings. Let's go to 1 Kings chapter 2. And we have a little bit of this recorded for us as David says here in 1 Kings chapter 2. Now the days of David drew nigh that he should die, and he charged Solomon his son, saying, I go the way of all the earth, be thou strong therefore, show thyself a man, and keep the charge of the Lord thy God. Right here, he taught me also, said, let thine heart retain my words, keep my commandments and live. Back over here, David speaking, keep the charge of the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes, his commandments, and his judgments, his testimonies, as is written in the law of Moses. Now that helps connect to say, my commandments, we're talking this thing right here, the law of Moses, that thou mayest prosper in all that thou do, and whithersoever thou turnest thyself. Now, let's take thou mayest prosper and go right here and live. So, keep my commandments and live. The words, the original words are, keep the law of Moses and prosper. I think we could say, hey, we probably got the same speech right here. So, there's another passage as well, one of the Psalms that covers this, Psalm 72. is the other one if you want to check this out. As Solomon says, okay, Dad taught me. He said, let thine heart retain my words, keep my commandments, and live. Look at Psalm 72, look at 1 Kings chapter 2, and you've got that old speech. This is now some 40 years later, and David is giving that, Solomon is giving that nostalgic testimony of what is there. And so then you come into beginning in verse 5, and you see a foundational message. Now, let's do some speculation here. The King James, as you may know, does not use quotation marks. I think that's a very wise thing, because the original doesn't have quotation marks. Now, all the other Bibles say you're too dumb to figure that out. I mean, there's never any way these plebes would ever figure this out. And so we, the scholars, have to put this in for them. Otherwise, they're stupid. They would never figure it out. So they put quotation marks. Sometimes they get it wrong. But you just assume it's right because it's there. It's better just not to put them, and you say, you got to figure this out. So, what is the speech of David? He taught me also and said unto me, let thine heart retain my words. Now, probably right here, we would say this begins the speech of David. Let thine heart retain my words, David's words, he says to Solomon, keep my commandments and live. Now, I think the speech goes on. You could say, okay, this is the end. Let's draw the quote marks right there and that. And then Solomon turns and says, get wisdom, get understanding. I think that we are continuing the speech. Now, get wisdom, David said to me. Get wisdom. But let's talk about this wisdom. In fact, get wisdom, get understanding. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. The words knowledge, wisdom, and understanding are part and parcel with the book of Proverbs. You can't do without them. But here we have said, and we're going to continue to test this all the way through, I think there's no problem here, especially when we've got what over here, the law of Moses, that wisdom is the law of Moses. That is the only wisdom. All wisdom grows out of the law of Moses, out of the Torah. The Torah, which according to Proverbs 8, existed before the earth began. We looked at that last time. So you could take this, get Torah. Okay, get wisdom, get Torah, get understanding. Spend your time trying to figure this out. That's what Dad told me. Forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Forsake her not. Lady Wisdom, the Torah, who comes and speaks to you and finds you right where you are. Don't forsake her. She shall preserve thee. Love her, and she shall keep thee. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And with all thy getting, get understanding. Now, take this verse 7 right here, and it's obviously, it is, you could put it on a plaque, and you could, I got a plaque right here. You could make a plaque. Mine says, grandkids make life grand. You could put this on a plaque, give it to, I could give it to my grandson, Jackson. Hey, Jackson, wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom. With all thy getting, get understanding. It's pithy, nice. But we would have to generalize that. And I think that this is actually very specific. Dad told me, Solomon says, that Torah is the principal thing. Therefore, get Torah. Get the wisdom that is in Torah. You're going to be the king. That's the Constitution. You need to know it. And with all thy getting, get understanding. It's one thing to know what it says, another thing to know what it means. So dig in all the way, get deep, exalt her, exalt wisdom, and she shall promote thee. She shall bring thee to honor when thou dost embrace her. He is standing again before the crowd of people, and he's reminding them. Dad told me, I don't know if he said, as you all know, sometimes I strayed from it. Sometimes I did not exalt her. I was given wisdom beyond compare, and sometimes I just walked away from it. Sometimes I was too tired to deal with it. Sometimes I was not as wise as I should be according to the Torah. When I learned to exalt her, she promoted me. When I learned to exalt her, she brought me honor. I embraced her eventually. You all know that. Rehoboam, I want you to embrace her as well. It's a public speech that is going on, and that is taking place through this issue. And so he goes on then in verse 9, she shall give to thine head an ornament of grace, a crown of glory she shall deliver unto thee. End quote. That's the summary of David's doctrine. David's speech to Solomon. Hang on to wisdom. Grab hold of her. She is going to be, as we see here, she is going to be an ornament of grace, a crown of glory. That goes all the way back, you remember, to chapter 1. I think it's about verses 8 and 9, if I'm not mistaken, in Proverbs chapter 1. And it gives this that, hey, my son Rehoboam, I can give you a crown. I can give you a pendant. But that's just a physical token. The real crown is Torah and your obedience thereof. Torah and your ability to teach it. Same thing, he's getting this from Dad. Dad told me that wisdom would be an ornament of grace for me, a pendant around the neck. Wisdom would be a crown of glory to me. That is, Torah wisdom would be all these things. So now we discover, okay, indeed, to a degree, what Solomon has been saying in chapters 1, 2, and 3, he learned from his dad. We shouldn't be surprised by that. Now he comes and he gives this testimony before the nation of his dad. So here it is. Now he switches, "Hear, O my son." So there was a public speech. Now, I don't think the public speech ends. I think that Solomon turns. He's been talking to the nation. It's been a great 40 years. Man, what a wonderful ride this has been. I had highs, I had lows. You were with me all the way. You saw it. In the end, I embraced wisdom. I embraced Torah. That's a much better place to be. And he goes on through that particular speech. And then, he talks about Dad, and then he turns in front of everyone and he says, "Hear, O my son, and receive my sayings, and the years of thy life shall be many." Does that sound a little deja vu? Again, receive my sayings, my law, my commandments, the Torah. The years of thy life shall be many. Let's just look at a couple of things here. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 2. One is, take my commandments, my law, the Torah. Length of days, long life, and peace shall they add to thee. Years of thy life shall be many. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Let's come back over here and go to verse 16, chapter 3. Speak wisdom, Torah. Length of days is in her right hand. On the left is riches and honor. Okay. Length of days, here it is again. years of thy life. And we could look, it's going to come up 3 or 4 more times. So this is the, at least the third time that right here in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 10 is at least the third time that we have this deal. Years of thy life shall be many. Now, this is again where if you don't focus it in this royal aspect as we've been doing to Rehoboam or the kings of Israel, this is where you have to set in the apology. I know the Bible says that, if you live wisely according to the word, that you're going to live a long life, you're going to live a long life, you're going to live a long life. But it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to live a long life. You might not live a long life. I mean, some people didn't live a long life and they were obedient to the Bible. But here it is, you're going to live. The Bible will give you a long life, a long life, a long life. But don't take that as a promise. I mean, it just says there. You see what an embarrassment we are to the Word of God, the way we teach it. I mean, I hate to be blunt and ugly and snarky there, but this is the third time. Years of thy life shall be many. And every time we teach that, we subtly say, don't believe everything you read. Because we don't know how to say, this is a promise to the king, and it was a promise under the covenant. It was a promise under the law. You and I don't live under the dispensation of the law. If we learn to rightly divide and to separate these things, then we can know, hey, this absolutely is a promise. I mean, it's given so many times, so plainly. If the plain sense makes common sense, seek no other sense. The third grader could say, what does it mean? Here, King James, that's complicated language, third grader. What does it mean? The years of thy life shall be many. Can you tell me what that means? You're going to live to be old. That's what it means, Pops. Okay, they can figure that out, right? Now, I think that, again, what we have to do is say, hey, he's saying, live Torah, avoid disaster. Live Torah, you're going to live a long time. Live Torah, the hand of God will be upon you. Live Torah, you'll be protected. That's what he's saying. And I think that's exactly what Torah says, what the promises of Torah are. Now, we go on. Again, this is a public audience, and it says, I have taught thee in the way of wisdom. I have led thee in the right paths. He's saying this in front of everyone. This is probably an attempt to hold Rehoboam's feet to the fire, and a little bit to say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. It's going to be up to you now, Rehoboam. I taught thee in the ways of wisdom. I taught thee Torah. By the way, the best Bible education your kids are ever going to get is from you. Not from me, it's from you. When you, maybe I'll teach you, but you can sit down your kids, talk to them, your grandkids, whatever it is, and be able at the end to say, I've taught thee in the way of wisdom. I have led thee in the right paths. I'm sure Solomon sometimes had to say, do as I say, not as I do. But nonetheless, he had lived in such a way before the people of a kingly life is very public life, and says, here it is. I've led thee in the right paths. When thou goest, thy steps shall not be straitened. Now, notice how that's spelled. It doesn't have a GHT. Straight with a GHT means it's not curvy, it's not crooked, it's straight. Straight spelled like this means not narrow, like the Strait of Gibraltar. Excuse me, narrow here, there is a knot, but the Gibraltar Strait, obviously, that's a narrow spot, a strait. Now, here, we look at this. Thy steps shall not be straightened. Thy steps shall not be brought in. Think about this for just a moment. Really a great promise. Solomon brought the kingdom to its zenith. The kingdom of Judah was never larger than under Solomon. That is, Solomon had a big, wide space. Now Solomon says, you walk in Torah wisdom, and your steps will not be narrowed. Problem is, Rehoboam didn't. Remember, is it 1 Kings 12, perhaps? And Rehoboam rejected the advice of his fathers and his father's counselors, went with the advice of his buddies. And what happened? Immediately, 10 of the tribes left. You're not welcome here anymore. Can't go there. His steps were really brought in. Is this a promise for everybody? Nope, it's not. You know, I think of the Jabez prayer that was so big a few years ago, written by, I don't know, somebody who claimed to take the Bible literally, but he just made a get-rich book out of it. You don't make a Jabez prayer out of this. Lord, I'll follow your way, and you give me a lot of places I can go. You give me a lot of land. You give me a lot of territory. Don't fence me in. This is the promise to Rehoboam and to future kings. And when thou runnest, thou shalt not stumble. Pretty good testimony there, isn't it? Take fast hold of instruction. Let her not go. Keep her, for she is thy life. Again, I think we're talking about the instruction of Torah. She is thy life. I wonder what Moses had to say about that. Let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 30. Verses 19, 20. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you. I have set before you life. I've set before you life. She is thy life. I've set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Again, you know, verse 12 right up there, blessing and cursing. Therefore, choose life, both thou and thou and thy seed may live. Long life, protected life. It's what Moses said. I set before you life. I set before you Torah. Take fast hold of the instruction I've set before you. Let not her go. Choose life that you may live. Keep her, for she is thy life. Let me, before I go on. That is some pretty bold instruction here. Again, we're taking this to be wisdom. Now, let's just suppose that, let me back up here. Yeah, let's just go with verse 10. Receive my sayings. Let's just suppose we say, oh, that's Solomon's word. Receive Solomon. It's nothing more than what Solomon has to say. Then Solomon is unbelievably arrogant. Really heretically so, if this is not Torah. Because he says, my sayings will give life. My sayings will give prosperity. My sayings will give health. Go through it again. You know, if you don't believe me, you missed sessions 1, 2, 3, you forgot sessions 1, 2, 3, you're just not really sure. You want to look at chapters 1, 2, and 3, I really should say. You're not sure that there's that much health, wealth, prosperity in there. Go read it again. You're going to find over and over and over again. Do this, you'll live. Do this, you won't be sick. Do this, you'll be protected. Do this, you won't die. Do this, you'll be productive. Do this, you'll be honored. Do this, you'll have peace. Over and over and over it goes. And we have gotten so used to, in our mind, discounting all that. You know, unless you're a true health, wealth, prosperity gospel preacher, you don't believe this. Why don't we go back and say that's exactly what Solomon was teaching? He was teaching, hey, King Rehoboam, you do the law, you will live. Now, again, if it's just my sayings, my commandments, my sayings, my law, just Solomon's stuff, the guy is way too arrogant for us to spend any time with. Right? There's no humility there. Hey, what I tell you, I got the secret to life I'd like to show you. Well, it's like Mr. Haney selling some snake oil, snake oil. This'll heal you, this'll do it. I think we have to take this as the law. Now, in verse 14 comes down, and he's still speaking to Solomon, to Rehoboam, in the public setting, and he says, enter not, everybody's looking, enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men. Fortunately, we had that word that was given to us back in Proverbs chapter 2, verse 12. Tells us what the evil man was. The evil man, here the evil men, the wicked, remember, are those who, this has been 2 weeks ago in chapter 2, they are those who walk froward rather than toward, to and fro. They walk away from Torah. And I don't mind just saying it. Torah, that was nice when we did Torah school. We had fun, I like the pizza. But it's not for me. However wicked they are in their actual life, that's neither here nor there. What are they doing with Torah describes whether they are one of the wicked. Walking away from it, walking to it. Enter not in the path of those who are very willing to say, Torah not for me, no thank you, you can have it. The path of the wicked. Go not into the way of the evil men. Now here he goes a little stronger, because earlier he said, don't associate with them. Now he says, don't even go to the path. Don't even go to the way. Of the path, avoid it, pass not by, turn from it, pass away, boom, 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 boom. There's a lot of, what should we call it, rhetoric here? As he rhetorically says, he really wants to drive it home. I do it. I repeat myself, and say it. Never, 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 never. So here, avoid it, pass by it, turn from it, pass away. Has all the indications of a public speech. For they, the wicked, shall not sleep except they have done mischief. Their sleep is taken away unless they cause someone to fall. When you get away from Torah wisdom, that's, what other path is there? They, the wicked, eat the bread of wickedness, drink the wine of violence, but the path of the just. That's the word righteous, same word. How was righteousness determined? It was determined by whether or not you live according to the law. So you could say the path of those who live according to the law. Notice there is a path of the just. There must be some just people. There is none who is righteous, no, not one. So what the Calvinists like to do is take that one verse and say, there is nobody who is right, no, not one. Righteous and justice, again, it's the same word. None who are righteous. That has a context, that verse. This verse has a context. There is the path of the just, the one who is right according to the law. And that path is a shining light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day. The way of wicked is as the darkness, they know not at what they stumble. What did I trip over? What is it? Stay away from that path. Again, can you take this and just give it a general blessing? Yeah, sure you can. But you're going to have to so water it down, it's not going to be worth it. You're going to be like me, perplexed for years and years. Why do we have a book of things that's sometimes true? Because, we are a little persnickety in our thinking, right? So we've got the way of the wicked is darkness. They know not what they stumble. My son, in front of everyone, he says, attend to my words. If he just means, I'm saying it again, if he just means, the Solomonic wisdom, attend to that. Arrogant. If he means Torah, maybe he's got something here. My son, attend to my words, incline thine ear unto my sayings. My words, my sayings, my position is, that's Torah. Solomon has taken it as his own. He's saying, I want you to make it your own. Let them, that would be Torah under this understanding, let them depart from thine eyes, keep them in the midst of thine heart. They are unto those that find them. They are, there we go. They are life. Back over here. Therefore choose life. My words are life unto those that find them. Health unto all their flesh. Again, you want to hear the evangelical preacher? Read Proverbs every day. It's wonderful. Oh, preacher, I read it and it told me I'm going to have long life and health. No. It didn't really say that. Yeah, it says it right here. They are life unto those that find them. Health. Oh, it's just talking about how wonderful your life is. How every day with Jesus is sweeter than the day before. It doesn't mean what it says. Just watch him backtrack on that. I set before you life and death, choose life. My words, I've adopted, Solomon says, the Torah. It is life to those that find them. It is health to their flesh. Now, this doesn't mean, and I think you would know this from me, it doesn't mean, hey, you Bubba out there, you should start living a Torah life. No, we're not under that dispensation anymore. It's not going to do you any good. This is not a promise for us. This is a promise for Israel. Here, directly, it's a promise for the Jewish kings. We are going to do a study on, let's take these kings and see which ones lived Torah and which ones didn't Torah, and let's just see if they had life and health. We'll see if this came true. Verse 23, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Put away from thee a froward mouth. That is, don't let it be your mouth, froward, going away from the Torah instead of coming to it. Not only don't let it be your mouth, but I think if somebody else got a froward mouth, I don't need you here. See ya. Just imagine again if Rehoboam had done this right here with his buddies, his advisors, that had froward mouths. If he'd have just said, you know what? My dad said, you guys got to go. See ya. Would have been a completely different history. Perverse lips put far from thee. Again, I think he's talking about other people. Don't have them in yourself, but you know, you can't take your lips and put them over there. You can just send somebody else's lips out the door. Let thine eyes look right on, and thine eyelids look straight before thee. Ponder the path of thy feet. Let all thy ways be established. Turn not to the right hand nor the left. Remove thy foot from evil. There it is, as he is saying, I want you to live Torah. Carry it out. I say this, Rehoboam, in front of all the nation. I hereby charge you to be a Torah king. You know what? I suspect that when Rehoboam does that, Rehoboam finds that indeed all the promises are true. Amazing how true the book of Proverbs can be. Well, got to run tonight. Thanks for being here with us as on vacation. We've got Ask the Theologian. It is running reruns, but running live, so you can chat with him and all that. And then Sunday, Pastor Jeff, Trinidad, Colorado, will be filling in for me one more time. I appreciate that. And then I'll be back next Thursday, next Sunday as well, back in the pulpit, and we'll be back normal life. Thanks for being here with us. Normally, I'd say hi and give greetings to each one of you from Mississippi and Texas and California and Vermont and Florida and all over the place. But right now, I'm on vacation. Thanks for joining us here for this Bible study. Let me lead us in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for these who now for about 15 years have joined us in Thursday night Bible studies, and some who we've picked up along the way, dear Heavenly Father, and it's been a blessing on these Thursday nights to study the Word, and thank you for this tradition and this blessing as we gather around a great big electronic table and we just study the Word together, and we pray that in every way it would be a blessing and an encouragement to us. If we got it right, help us remember it and put it to use and teach others. If we got it wrong, help us to get corrected or just forget about it and move on. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll give you a little music on the way out. There we go. And I do appreciate you being here. And look forward to seeing you soon. Randy at Randy White Ministries is the email. And God bless each one of you.